Geronimo residents will head to the polls next week to vote on whether alcohol should be sold at certain events. The human remains were discovered right up this hill by a person conducting a survey. As you can see behind me, this old newspaper building had more than half of the wall fall off. People who live here tell me they're ready to rebuild the city back to the way it was. He says he's always felt equal and a part of this country until this executive order came out. They hope this mural will catch people's attention so they'll stop and adopt one of these furry friends. The family, including a 6-year-old, were all at home sleeping when a car drove right here through this yard and then crashed into this house. This camera here installed at the front entrance is one of many all over Highland Cemetery. The city hopes these cameras will make vandals think twice before damaging anything again. David, he says it was an absolute dream. He still can't believe he even made the shot because he was so nervous. But what we don't see is how much work goes on behind the scenes before they're called out to situations like pursuits or crime scenes. Although Coach Wilson has become a regular at the state tournament, he says each year is just as special because of the girls he coaches. Travis Ocker, a sergeant in the U.S. Army stationed at Fort Sill, had the chance most hunters don't get in a lifetime, the chance to harvest this 28-point buck. He had been chasing a 10-point buck he saw earlier in the season in the same area and took a shot at it but missed. And as he was about to get down from the stand, this came walking across the creek.
I was the luckiest guy on the planet on November the 12th.
Just 30 yards out, he pulled his bow back and shot. He says he's never been so nervous.
I was shooken up. There's nothing to say. I mean, there was no way around it. I remember just the clanking sound of my tree stand after the shot of my legs just. I've never shook that bad being cold, and it was a warm day that day, and it was ridiculous.
Ocker says he wasn't sure if he got it or not, but immediately started calling all of his friends and family. It took Ocker and his son over 4 hours to track the deer because it ran quite a ways away from where he shot it. He says it was an emotional experience, but the best part was being able to share it with his son.
We come around the corner just on the other side over here, and he throws his hands up, the big buck sign, and sure enough, there's that buck laying there. Hunting is more than just a hobby to Ocker. It's a way to relieve stress and anxiety. I myself suffer from some post-deployment things, and I think maybe this deer might be a good platform to help, other people get that. I've already had friends that suffer from the same elements have actually started bow hunting. I mean, these are guys that couldn't leave the house. Ocker shares his hunting stories to inspire others to explore the outdoors and cherish how beautiful it truly is. Just come and enjoy what you can see around you. I think it'd be, a lot better. That's what hunting is for me. It's something I get to do with my family. That's the first part. And it's also just something that I get to go relax. He shot a different buck from the exact same tree just a week before November 12th. He says that was the biggest one up until the 28-pointer came along. He says next year's hunting season will be hard to beat after this year's kill. Pulling over to the side of the road, turning on your lights and flashers, and wearing a reflective vest is what tow truck drivers do to avoid getting hit when they're trying to get a broken down vehicle off a busy street. But even after all that, some drivers are still careless.
As I was hooking up, all I did was bring the hook up to the frame and I hooked it. And next thing I knew, the car was right there. So I jumped up. I tried to turn away. I got my face away, but I got my ribs. Janie Rybold, the owner and operator of Southern Towing and Recovery, was out on a regular quick tow call last Saturday afternoon when a car hit her and sped off. Now every time she steps out of the tow truck to do her job, she fears the worst might happen. You get very afraid out there because you never know when we're going to make it home. Our job isn't easy. We want to go out and make sure we're coming home. Trooper Dallas Anderson says moving over for emergency vehicles, including a tow truck, is not just a courtesy, it's an Oklahoma law.
You are to slow down, yield to that vehicle, and if safe to do so, move to the adjacent lane when passing. And we see it every day out here, and I think a lot of it is people just aren't paying attention. Whether it's their cell phone or they're distracted by something else inside that vehicle.
Rybold says they put triangles or cones out if they're doing a tow that will take longer than the average 5 to 10 minutes. She hopes others will remember her story the next time they think about speeding past emergency vehicles or tow trucks on the side of the road. You need to move over. It is a law for us out here. We want to go home just like everybody else. We get hit, that means cops are back out, EMS, fire. We all work together. We just want to go home safe at night.
This is all I have,
to show him, that they bring him things to show him I love him, or bring him little gifts. So I just ask that people respect that, because it may not mean anything to them, but it means a lot to me. Where's his nose?
Valerie Moore's son's grave is a sacred place for her and her family after tragically losing her 7-month-old to bronchitis. She says for the past year they've been fighting off vandals. The first time was just 3 weeks after his death. Moore found the concrete angel on his grave spray painted black. Since then, toys, decorations, and flowers have been stolen, destroyed, and ripped up.
Broke my heart into a million pieces. I literally hit my knees on the ground. So personally, the way that made me feel, I can only imagine how other families felt. So from that point on, it was my mission to make that come to a stop.
Moore's voice was heard, and the city installed these high-tech motion-sensitive security cameras in hopes of catching whoever's behind the vandalism.
We could actually, know that the stuff we were putting out here wasn't going to be damaged anymore, and if it was, we would actually find who is doing it, hopefully, and get some justice to help the problem stop out here.
She says she will sleep better at night knowing the cemetery has an extra set of eyes, but hopes those doing the damage will realize how they're affecting these families and stop. And if they don't, they face being caught on camera and potentially prosecuted for their crime.
This is where their families come to, appreciate their lives, and they deserve to be at rest here. They don't deserve to have everything desecrated out here. So they deserve some justice.
A sight James Noddick never thought he'd see, people he works with communicating his way.
I've never seen that in my life. I never had that experience before, for everybody taking their time and their effort to learn something that makes me feel so cherished. It's just a blessing.
It brought everyone, including the employees, to tears.
After work, I was on my way home. I was crying. I was just so happy. I was thanking God to let me have this experience.
James has been deaf since he was about 18 months old. He has worked at the Chick-fil-A in Lawton for over 2 years now, cleaning the kitchen and cooking. He says it's his passion and does his job so well, the other employees call him Captain Cleaner or Captain America. Angie Jones, the director of culture at the Lawton Chick-fil-A, says she YouTubed how to sing happy birthday in sign language and then taught the rest of their team before he got to work. She says it was the least she could do to make James feel loved.
I wish I had an entire team full of Jameses, to be honest with you. He works so hard. He does such a good job. He has a lot of pride in his work.
Lisa Noddick, James's mother, says her son has always exceeded their expectations on what he can and can't do in life. But she says she never thought other people would take the time to see him with the same love and compassion they do.
I've never had anyone go out of their way to make him feel so special on their own without being encouraged to say, hey, this is James, this is who he is, They found that out on their own, and they did this on their own. And I'm just so blessed beyond imagine.
James has a special message for those with disabilities just like him that go through challenges every day that no one else understands.
That there's hope. That there's a lot of people that are suffering right now in this world, and they have disabilities like I do that struggle, and they shouldn't give up. They should keep going, keep trying.